Over the years, we've seen some impressive projects transform home consoles into portable devices. But when it comes to modern consoles like the PS3 or Xbox 360, portabilizing them is a whole different challenge, thanks in large part to their immense power and cooling needs. Most 7th generation and newer consoles, apart from the Wii, are extremely difficult to make portable. However, an Italian modder named Francesco has taken up the challenge, with the PS4 no less. And what he's created is truly remarkable. So let's dive in and check out his portable PS4 build. Hey everyone, how's it going? My name is Tito and welcome to Macho Nacho Productions. Today, I'm really excited to showcase a really neat project, and one of the best things that I get to do on this channel is show you these amazing creations, and this one is definitely no exception. What we have here is a portable PlayStation 4. It's essentially a fully self-contained PS4 Slim with its own screen, powered internally with a bunch of 18650 lithium-ion batteries, allowing you to play your favorite PS4 titles on the go. Now, it's not nearly as compact as a Game Boy or even a Steam Deck, but considering what it is, it's surprisingly portable, and that's what makes it so awesome. So this project comes to us from Francesco, a software engineer by day and a talented modding enthusiast by night who hails all the way from Italy. Francesco is a die-hard Dark Souls fan, which is partly what inspired this project to happen in the first place. Allow me to elaborate. Francesco really wanted the ability to play Dark Souls games on the go, but unfortunately his girlfriend didn't allow him to spend the dough on something like a Steam Deck or a ROG Ally portable PC. So, being the resourceful individual that he is, he gathered parts from things that he had lying around the house, and he came up with his own portable solution. He had a PS4 Slim which had a broken Blu-ray drive, an old Acer netbook that was collecting dust, and a broken old hoverboard. From these base parts, as well as some clever 3D printing design work, he was able to make this, which honestly to me is super impressive. Anyway, there's a lot to unpack here, so let's dive in and check out this very cool portable PS4. Alright, so in this video, we'll talk about what makes this project work and how it's constructed. Then we'll go over all of its features and test out some gameplay. And lastly, I'll go over what I see as the pros and cons of this build, as well as my overall thoughts. Breaking down how the portable PS4 is built, it centers around a PS4 Slim motherboard, chosen for its significantly smaller size compared to the original version. More importantly, the Slim model features a much smaller heatsink, making it ideal for a compact build like this. Now apparently there are 3 versions of the PS4 Slim, but you'll need one with the smaller heatsink like this. The larger heatsinks found in other revisions take up valuable space required for essential components in the build. And one of those components is the LVDS, or Low Voltage Differential Signaling Board, which allows the HDMI output of the PS4 to be connected to our donor laptop display. Francesco got this particular model from Amazon and it only cost around 25 bucks. Additionally, we'll be using 18 18650 lithium-ion batteries. Yup, you heard me right. 18 of these, which should give us roughly an hour and a half to 2 hours of gameplay. Now, Francesco actually welded these batteries together in series using a special welding device, which for me is pretty scary, but if you know what you're doing, you should be okay. It is a lot of batteries, but it is needed because the PS4 is such a power hog. Now, what I love about this project is that he actually made this build as simple and modular as possible. At the base of the unit are 4 bays, 3 of which hold 6 lithium-ion batteries each, and the 4th housing the hard drive, as well as the BMS, or Battery Management System Board. Once all that stuff is wired, a midframe is placed inside the casing so that the PS4 motherboard can be dropped in. Then, once that's secured, Francesco continues to assemble the shell as well as route and organize the wires. He then places another midframe piece on top of the motherboard, which also serves as the ducting for guiding cool air through the heatsink. Next, he installs the LVDS board by first connecting it to the PS4 HDMI port, as well as power via USB. Again, this device is what's used to push the video from the PS4 to our display. Next up, he installed a DC to DC regulator for standby power, which is obviously quite a bit lower than the power needed while the console is running. And after that's installed, we'll next be putting together the upper screen housing, which is connected to the upper casing cover using the hinges from our Acer laptop. And here you can see how the screen hinges actuate. I think it's pretty neat how he repurposed these hinges for the project. Anyway, now it's just a matter of routing the wire through the LCD housing and placing the assembly onto the lower half, while also making the connection to the power button PCB. The whole assembly just press fits into place. Now the last thing we need to do is connect the LCD and then mount it. And here we can see that Francesco finishes off the build with a very thin 3D mounted bezel that goes around the screen to give it a more polished look. And that's pretty much it. We now have a fully self-contained portable PS4. Now this is obviously a gross oversimplification of how you would actually put one of these together. Francesco has a YouTube channel where he posted the full build video, which I pulled a lot of this footage from, as well as a GitHub that should get you well on your way to making one of these puppies on your own. I'll have links to everything down below in the video description. Now before we run this thing through its paces and discuss all of its features, let's talk about the sponsor of today's video, iFixit. If you're like me and you love keeping your retro consoles and tech in perfect working condition, you know just how important it is to have quality parts and tools. iFixit has always been my go-to, and right now, they got a killer deal that you won't want to miss. From September 9th through September 30th, you can skip that expensive upgrade and save 20% on iPhone screen and battery replacement parts. We all know how tempting it is to go for the latest shiny iPhone device, but let's be real. Your current one has plenty of life left in it. Why not repair it instead? Not only will you save money, but it's also the more sustainable choice. Kind of like what we're doing here on the channel, giving these retro consoles a second lease on life through upgrades and repairs. Whether you're swapping out a cracked screen or giving your battery a fresh boost, iFixit's top quality parts make it easier than ever to keep your tech running smoothly. So hit the link in the video description to grab this offer before it's gone, and again, a huge thank you to iFixit for sponsoring this video. Okay, now let's take a look at all the features that Francesco's portable PS4 has to offer. Let's first talk about how to actually use it. To power it on, you'll first need to flip the large switch on the side, which will be accompanied by a green LED that's sort of visible through some of the seams in the case, and the LCD will also turn on with some text appearing on screen. This all means that the PS4 is now getting power from the internal batteries, and that we can now press the button on top, which will actually turn the console on. And as you would expect, the PS4 is booting up as it normally would, and one of the things that's immediately noticeable is the quality of the screen. The panel that he pulled from the donor Acer laptop was honestly a pretty good choice because it's plenty bright, and the image is very clear and the colors are vibrant. It's a 10-inch display with a 1024 by 600 resolution, and while it's not even a 720p display, it honestly still looks pretty nice. So from here, you would just use the PlayStation 4 as you normally would, using a standard PS4 controller that's paired to the console. Here you can see that I'm playing some Dark Souls, and it all just works flawlessly, no lag or anything. Now of course, the games are being loaded from the internal hard drive since there is no optical drive inside the unit. Francesco has said that he does plan on designing an external optical drive that will allow you to play games from a disc. So as of now, the only way to get games on the system is through the PlayStation Online store. Okay, so that's how you use the portable PS4, but now let's talk a bit about how it's powered. More specifically, how the internal batteries are charged. For this, Francesco pulled an Xbox 360 power supply and encased it in an enclosure that he also custom designed to match the aesthetic of the PS4 portable case. It's honestly a pretty large package, and I kinda wish he went with a different solution, maybe using USB-C PD or something like that. And for such a beefy unit, you'd think it'd be capable of charging batteries fairly quickly. Well, that's not exactly the case. For example, when the batteries are completely dead with a reading of around 9 volts, to charge it to the required 12.2 volts to actually get the console to run, it takes about 12 hours, which is a really long time and not really all that practical. We'll get into this a bit later, but this is an area I really like to see an improvement on. So I can already hear you asking, how long does this thing last on a single charge? And you may be or may not be surprised, but it's only about 1.5 hours. Yep, with 18 of these 18650 battery cells, you only get about 1.5 hours of playtime. Now keep in mind, even though this is a slim model PS4, it's still a power-hungry beast. However, the silver lining is that the cells that Francesco used were salvaged from a used hoverboard, so the batteries are most likely pretty old, and they may not be the best quality. If you were to purchase some brand new, high-quality cells, I think you'd be able to squeeze at least 2 hours of gameplay out of the console. Alright, so that's how it all works, but now let's take a look at some of the exterior features of the unit. The first and most obvious one being the flip-up display. I love how Francesco salvaged not only the display itself, but also the hinges, so you can definitely get a very nice panel that stays in position no matter the angle you place it at. Here on top you can see the air inlet as well as the cooling fan. And on the sides are additional vents to dissipate some of the internal heat in the shape of PlayStation button symbols, square, X, triangle, and circle. It's a nice motif that reminds you you're playing a PlayStation console, just in case you forgot. Now, what I absolutely love about this project is that if you actually look up a portable PS4 on Google, you get a lot of these briefcase-like products that essentially have a built-in screen and presumably a large battery bank to power the console. Francesco has taken that concept to the next level by designing a custom shell that manages to integrate all the same essential components into a much smaller, more cohesive package. For what it is, it's impressively compact and exceptionally well executed. Alright, so we've seen how this thing was built, how it operates, but now let's get into the meat and potatoes and discuss what I think are the pros and cons of this project. Let's first start with the pros, and the standout one in my opinion is Francesco's design philosophy for this project. His focus was on making it as easy to build as possible, ensuring the components were kept modular with no PCB trimming at all. What's more, he repurposed a lot of parts that he had lying around the house. To achieve a result this polished with that approach is nothing short of impressive. Given these constraints, I think he absolutely nailed it. We now have a fully functional, portable PS4 using original PlayStation hardware. No remote play, no emulation, no tricks. This is genuine PS4 hardware in a compact portable form factor, and that's what makes it so impressive. Again, the retro modding community just continues to surprise me. However, there are a few areas that I really hope Francesco can improve upon in a future iteration, which leads me to the cons. Now, I want to start by saying that I absolutely love this project, and I fully recognize the tough constraints that Francesco was working with. I'm not trying to diminish his incredible achievement in any way. Instead, these are just a few suggestions for how I think this project could be made even better going forward. First off, let's talk about its portability. While it is technically portable, the system is still rather large and heavy, weighing in at over 5.5 pounds. It's impressive no doubt, but whether it's practical to carry around is another question entirely. Next is the battery setup. The battery life is pretty short at just 1.5 hours, and I'm not a fan of the current configuration since it relies on linking batteries using solder or a welding device, which means you'll need some specialized equipment. Additionally, messing around with batteries like these can be tricky and even risky. Extreme caution is required when soldering or welding them together. Plus, it takes a long time to charge, over 12 hours from a dead state of around 9 volts, which is far from practical. Francesco did mention that using a 12-volt charger could speed things up significantly, but as it stands, charging is painfully slow. Another challenge with the battery is that there's no clear indicator of when it's about to die, so make sure you save your progress often, just in case. Then there is the power supply itself, which is both huge and slow. It's not only bulky, but it also makes an annoying beeping sound when the battery level drops below a certain percentage. The one upside is that it matches the overall aesthetic of the PS4 Portable, but the trade-offs in size and charging speed are significant. If Francesco could somehow integrate USB-C PD into the device, that would be awesome. Now, another lacking feature are integrated speakers. However, this can be easily addressed. The LVDS board that Francesco uses has connections for speakers, and he even left an opening in the design for future speaker installation. So this is something that can be added down the road without too much trouble. Plus, the PS4 allows for pairing of certain Bluetooth headphones, so that's of course an option as well. Now, another limitation that I mentioned previously was the lack of an optical disk drive. This is something that Francesco is currently working on, so I do look forward on testing that out in a future iteration. And lastly, the fit and finish does feel a bit flimsy in some areas, but it's understandable again given the constraints of the project. This is just a minor thing and can most certainly be improved down the road for a more polished finish. Well folks, there you have it. A fully portable PS4. While it's not without its flaws, the execution of this project is truly impressive given its constraints, and I'm really excited to see how it evolves in the future. Now, if you enjoyed this video, I really think you'll like this one here, so check it out. And as always, thank you all so much for tuning in today, and I'll catch you again next time.